90s. Tonight I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I'm going to read you some facts about the band Nirvana. Now, I was a huge, and still am, a huge Nirvana fan back in the 90s. And I suppose I've heard so many Nirvana facts throughout the years that I felt I'd heard them all. But I thought I'd try and find a few that you may not have heard if you're a fan. And even if you have, you might find them relaxing. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope it helps you get some sleep. Also, I still have a sore throat, so I'll be drinking water. Don't take any notice. You know them as Nirvana, but Kurt Cobain went through many band names before picking that one, including Fecal Matter, Ben Cap Jew, Bliss, Ted Ed Fred, and Skid Row, not to be confused with the Sebastian Bach fronted 80s glam metal band from Jersey. Kurt Cobain's childhood and teen years in Aberdeen are the source of much speculation and myth. He later claimed in several interviews that he actually spent time homeless and living under a bridge, but that story has been widely debunked. Kurt once had this to say of his high school days: "I was so withdrawn by that time and so antisocial that I was almost insane. I always felt they'd vote me most likely to kill everybody at a high school dance." In 1988, Nirvana inked a deal with Seattle indie label Sub Pop, releasing their first single, Love Buzz, a cover of a song by Dutch band called Shocking Blue, as a 7-inch single. Sub Pop put out the disc, but remained unconvinced in Nirvana, and actually hit up Cobain for the $200 needed to first release it. Sub Pop also released Nirvana's debut full-length album Bleach in 1989 with Jason Everman, who did a stint as Nirvana's second guitarist, putting up the $606.17 that was infamously listed on its liner notes as the cost of recording the disc. Jason Everman didn't actually appear on Bleach at all. His brief time with Nirvana didn't start until after the band had finished recording. Bleach was released on June 15th, 1989, to initially modest sales and lukewarm reviews. It had sold just 40,000 copies by the time Nirvana put out their second album, Nevermind, but eventually became Sub Pop's all-time bestseller, moving well more than 1 million units since its release. The working title of Too Many Humans was changed to Bleach after Cobain found an AIDS prevention poster aimed at heroin addicts with the catchy slogan, "Bleach Your Works." Following Bleach, drummer Chad Channing was replaced by Dave Grohl, former skinsman for the DC punk band Scream, and future frontman of his own multi-platinum post-Nirvana project, the Foo Fighters. Frustrated by Sub Pop's limited distribution, Nirvana used songs recorded with producer and Garbage drummer Butch Vig as a demo to sign a major label deal with DGC Records for the release of their second album, Nevermind. The deal happened after repeated recommendations from Kim Gordon, the bassist, whose own band Sonic Youth inked with DGC for their 1990 major label debut album, Goo. Rolling Stone magazine initially gave Nevermind a 4 out of 5 star review, despite eventually naming it the best album of the 90s and placing it at number 17 on its 500 greatest albums of all time list. Nevermind famously knocked Michael Jackson's Bad off the top of the Billboard 200 albums tally and spent a total of 252 weeks on the charts, but what album bumped Nevermind out of the number 1 spot? Country star Gareth Brooks' Rope in the Wind. Cobain hated director Sam Baer's original cut of the Smells Like Teen Spirit video, personally re-editing the video and telling Time magazine he threw in an extra few things which pretty much saved it. Cobain married Courtney Love on February the 24th, 1992, on a cliff overlooking Hawaii's Waikiki Beach, but bassist Chris Novoselic, who was not on good terms with the bride and groom at the time, refused to attend. Courtney Love has claimed that director Quentin Tarantino personally offered the role of the heroin dealer in Pulp Fiction to Kurt, who turned it down, but was sure to thank Quentin, in the liner notes to Nirvana's third album, In Utero. The role ultimately went to Eric Stoltz. Just days before his suicide, a heroin-addicted Kurt leaped the fence of a Los Angeles rehab facility and boarded a plane back to Seattle. Sitting next to him in first class, none other than Guns N' Roses rocker Duff McKagan. The shotgun Cobain used to end his life on April 5th, 1994, was purchased by one of his closest friends, Dylan Carlson, of the Seattle drone doom band Earth. Kurt said he needed it for self-defense. Kurt Cobain dropped out of high school, then worked there as a janitor. Even though by all accounts he was a slob, Kurt worked as a janitor at Weatherwax High School not long after dropping out of that very school. The dancing janitor in the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video was an inside joke for Kurt bassist Chris Novoselic, and only if a select few others knew of Kurt Cobain's old job. The title for About a Girl came about in an unsurprisingly quick way. Chad Channing, one of Nirvana's drummers before Dave Grohl, claimed that one day he asked Cobain what the song was about. About a Girl was Cobain's reply. Well, why don't you just call it that? The girl in question was Cobain's girlfriend Tracy Miranda, who asked why he wrote about everything, including Floyd the Barber, from the Andy Griffith Show, but her. Miranda didn't even realise that she was the girl until she read the official biography of the band, Come As You Are, the story of Nirvana 4 years later. There were at least 5 different drummers in the band before Dave Grohl. Cobain and Novoselic were always members of Nirvana, but finding a permanent drummer proved to be even harder than coming up with a decent band name. In the beginning there was trivia answer Aaron Burkhardt, who pissed off Cobain by getting Kurt's car impounded after being arrested for fighting with a police officer. Then there was Melvin's drummer Dale Grover, who pounded the skins for Cobain and Novoselic on their first demo tape before moving to San Francisco. Then there was Dave Foster, who pissed off Cobain by getting arrested for assaulting the son of the mayor of Cosmopolis, Washington. Then Burkhardt briefly returned before announcing that he was too hungover to practice one day. Then a mutual friend introduced Cobain and Novoselic to Chad Channing, who managed to not get arrested and hung around for 2 years before the group's co-founders decided he wasn't cutting it anymore. Mudhoney drummer Dan Peters played on the Sliver single. Back in Washington, Dale Grover performed with Cobain and Novoselic on a 7-day tour with Sonic Youth. In August 1990, before Dave Grohl's band Scream broke up and Melvin's frontman Buzz Osborne introduced Grohl to Cobain and Novoselic, ending the vicious cycle of shattered cars and bones of authority and its offspring. Nirvana's first single was written by a member of the band that brought us Venus. So, like I said earlier, Love Buzz was written by the Dutch rock band Shocking Blue, but you might know them more by their classic song Venus, which reached number 1 in the US Billboard Hot 100 in February 1970 and sold 7.5 million copies. Smells Like Teen Spirit was inspired by Cobain's girlfriend's deodorant and alcohol. After a night of drinking, Cobain and then roommate Dave Grohl were joined by Bikini Kill songwriter, vocalist Kathleen Hanna and drummer Toby Vale at their humble pre-fame abode. The party continued, and eventually Hanna spray-painted Kurt Smells Like Teen Spirit on Cobain's wall, a reference to the deodorant Vale, Cobain's girlfriend at the time, used to smell pleasant. As the rest of the legend goes, Kurt loved the phrasing and wrote the song without knowing of the Teen Spirit deodorant's existence until after it was recorded. The song's riff was a rip-off of the Pixies and More Than a Feeling. The Pixies are universally credited with inventing the loud, quiet dynamic in 1987 with their debut EP, Come On Pilgrim. By the way, I'm a huge Pixies fan as well. But anyway, it wouldn't be until 1990, 1 year after Nirvana's debut album Bleach, that Cobain's affection for the band would heavily influence his songwriting, and Through the Lens, Spirit became pretty much sounds like a Pixies parody. Cobain admitted to trying to rip off the group from Boston, and at a big 1992 concert in Reading, he would also acknowledge the song's passing resemblance to the band Boston's More Than a Feeling. When Cobain saw himself on TV for the first time, he called his mother. The music video for Smells Like Teen Spirit premiered on MTV's alternative music show 120 Minutes on Sunday, September 29th, 1991. Cobain watched himself in a hotel room at the Roger Smith Hotel in New York City and called his mother. "There's me," he gleefully said. "There's me again," he said when he reappeared on screen, and every time thereafter throughout the video. That anecdote is of course already enshrined at the adorable Hall of Fame. Nirvana was accused of plagiarism on more than one occasion. It all began in 1989 when Nirvana's Negative Creep featured the chorus "Daddy's Little Girl Ain't a Girl No More," which reminded a lot of the band's early listeners of grunge pioneer Mudhoney's Sweet Young Thing, Ain't Sweet No More. Nothing came of it, but years later Cobain might have had that in mind when he warned Nirvana's co-manager Danny Goldberg about making Come As You Are the next single after Teen Spirit. Kurt was nervous about Come As You Are because it was too similar to a Killing Joke song in the 80s, but we all thought it was still the better song to go with, and he was right. Killing Joke later did complain about it, but that's all they did, complain. Killing Joke never took the extra step of actually taking the band to court over the similarities to their 1984 song due to personal and financial reasons, and possibly because that song itself sounds an awful lot like the Damned's 1982 song Life Goes On. Shrugging and muttering to themselves that good artists borrow and great artists steal, Killing Joke welcomed Dave Grohl behind the drum kit to play on their 2003 album. The only time someone actually sued Nirvana was director Kevin Kerslake, who alleged that Kurt Cobain used some of his ideas for the Heart-Shaped Box music video. The case was settled out of court. The original music video for In Bloom is from 1990 and set in New York City. In Bloom, along with other Nevermind songs Breed, Lithium and Polly, was a song intended for a 1990 album with Sub Pop, the band's initial record label. At first, Sub Pop seemed to be up to the task, paying for a recording session and releasing a music video showing the band performing the intended first single at a couple of different shows, traversing around the David Dinkins era Lower Manhattan. But nobody told Novoselic about continuity. He appears in parts of the video completely bald. The bassist thought his playing was so bad at one gig that he shaved his head to appease the bass gods. The drummer is the aforementioned song title author, Chad Channing. Sub Pop, however, would prove to be on the verge of bankruptcy and would only be saved by the deal they made with Geffen Records to receive some royalties from Nevermind. Hoping to keep the cash flowing was In Bloom, the album's fourth single, promoted by a much more professional-looking and thought-out video with the band, performing on an old Ed Sullivan Show type of program. The original Lithium video concept was a cartoon. Initially, Kurt Cobain and director Kevin Kerslake agreed on Cobain's idea, an animated story about a girl named Prego who discovers some eggs that hatch. Unfortunately, the two discovered too late that the animation would take 4 months to produce and decided just to use footage from a couple of live performances. Kerslake did his best to make things interesting by using video of the band at its most vibrant, manic moments during the quiet parts of the song and vice versa. I think I'll leave it there for tonight, and I might do a part 2 to this if you want me to, so let me know in the comment section. Sweet dreams.